Welcome to a new edition of Insolent Answers. All of you have seen the previous parts of Insolent Answers already know that this is my different format of where I answer questions unscripted, completely on the fly, and I answer questions that were either entered into the comments of previous videos or emailed to me or that I find on the internet. So before I continue, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on any new content. Come on, fam, you're here already. You've seen my logo on other channels. You're here for the original gorilla. Just subscribe and support the channel. It really helps out. All right, so let's go to our first question. Aside from wanting children, why bother? To the subscriber that submitted this question, thank you. Now, I have to answer this question in two parts, to be honest with you, because it doesn't specify when they say aside from wanting children, why bother? Do they mean why bother just having a relationship with a woman or why bother getting married? Those are two very different variables. So I'm going to answer this question on that aspect. All right. So first, let me take on why bother dating a woman, not marriage, just dating. Okay, number one, because biologically we are built to procreate. We want each other. It's a biological need to be with other women. Now, you did say very clear, apart from having children, why bother? So a few factors other than procreation would be companionship is one reason. Now I know that every man is different. Not every man wants companionship from a woman. Other men would say, "Hey, you know what? I just want to have a good time for a little bit. I don't want her around full time." Other men are very used to having a companion there all the time, so they do want that woman there full time, but they just don't want to be married again. So companionship would be the number one thing. Another thing that's a little bit lower on the scale would be traditional roles between men and women. And what I mean by traditional roles right there, obviously, let's say you have a living girlfriend, you pay the majority of the bills, you would like her to maintain the house or maintain the home a little bit better. That is what I mean by more traditional roles. Now, are there other reasons other than this to have a relationship? Yeah, there are a couple of reasons. I mean, obviously, it's, bedroom fun, which is always a plus. Who's going to say no to that? Also, maybe you like to travel a lot and you like a travel companion. But again, that would fall into companionship or a specialized version of it. Or everybody can have their own reason. One thing I have to note with this question, women act differently with a man when they're dating him versus when they're already married. I don't know why that is, but I've heard it from multiple men and I've gone through it myself. I don't have any scientific data to back up what I'm about to say, but I am going to say it anyway for some reason. And I believe that the reason may be because marriage is a binding contract. Women's attitudes change. When you're dating a woman, she's usually on her best behavior. She puts her best foot forward and keeps everything positive, and you fall head over heels over that version of the woman. And then when you marry her, does she stay the same? No, she doesn't. Her negative traits start coming out. Things that she's been hiding for a long time, they start coming out. And things that she used to do for you, she won't do for you anymore. I mean, certain bedroom fun tricks will go away. She's not as willing to do that anymore. Not just that, like, let's say, for example, she used to give you foot massages or back rubs. They start going down. I believe it's because once a woman is married, she believes, okay, I have the binding contract. Well, she does. She does. She knows it. So now, okay, now I could just downshift, downgrade everything, and just treat him like whatever, and I can get away with it. Another thing that I've also noticed is when you're dating a woman versus when you're married, I rarely have heard that their girlfriends just nag 24/7. It's just nag, 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 nag. Marriage, completely different. You do hear men complain a lot about receiving nagging and just a constant barrage of complaints. Men get tired of that. One thing that men do not like of marriage is the constant nagging, the barrage of nagging. Am I saying that some men haven't earned that treatment or haven't done enough to not get nagged? No, I'm not saying that, but I am saying that women always overplay that card. I mean, every card that a woman has to be able to strike, they usually overplay it. Once they're married, they're really going to overplay that card. And there are other bad habits. I could list a bunch of them off, but I'm going to leave this question right here. Because if you remove children out of the picture for a relationship with women, the next factors would be, bedroom fun and companionship. And I believe that both of those are not worth you risking half your assets. So let's move on to the next question. How did you choose to be an ape? Okay, this is going to be a little bit of backstory on the channel. I'm glad this question came up. The subscriber who posted this question, thank you for posting this question. This is going to go back several years. Actually, back when I started this channel 2 years ago. Before that, I was contemplating starting my own channel. I had several inspirations out there. There were other channels that already existed prior to mine, and I had video editing experience and I had experience in our niche enough where I felt that I could help someone else out. So when I started my design of my channel, my logo, the channel name, everything was really different. So let me give you a quick mini couple minutes documentary on how this channel started. So when I first started designing this channel, my first logo idea and channel name, and I'm gonna say it right now, was Insolent Analysts. And my logo was gonna be a mad scientist in a white lab coat. And I gave some thought and I started thinking, I don't think this is gonna gel very well with the niche. Although it is somewhere I want to go. I really want to analyze something because these videos I'm watching overwhelmingly by women who don't seem to take any time to analyze men, to understand men. They need to be analyzed. But again, I didn't feel that that logo and that name brought the magic out. A couple weeks later, I was actually working on this project. I was putting this table together. I was repairing this table. And at the time, I was using Gorilla Glue. And when I was taking a break from repairing the table, I remember looking at the Gorilla Glue logo on the glue, and I was thinking to myself, ever since I was a kid, I used to see a cow on the old Elmer's glue. Anybody remember in elementary school we used to make those projects? They would use the white glue on the Elmer's products, and it was I think it was Elsie the cow was the logo. And when I was a kid, it always fascinated me. Like, what does a cow have to do with glue? Maybe I just don't understand how you make glue process. But I had to Google up the name of the product because I could remember the cow being so distinct from glue that it just stuck. And then here I'm using Gorilla Glue, and I'm like, I know the product is glue because of the gorilla. And then I was thinking, okay, you know what? This gorilla is gonna stick with me, and maybe it's the time of the gorilla logo. So there, I kind of revamped my image a little bit, and I put my second logo design. I kind of had like a rough draft of it was a gorilla in a lab coat, and then I came up with a second name, which was actually Insolent Answers. I was thinking, okay, I should use the name Insolent Answer and put the logo of a gorilla in a lab coat, a white lab coat. That sounded a little bit better to me. I thought that that would actually stick a little bit more. But then I decided, hold up, let me hold up on it. Let me think about this a few times. Let me come at it with different angles. So then, about a week after that, I decided to change that up because even though it really was in the better direction that I wanted, I didn't think that the trench coat was the key accessory to a gorilla on this one. And yes, we're going to analyze, we're going to answer, but there's just one piece missing. That one piece is going to bring everything together. Then I just realized that, hey, you know what we're doing? Yeah, it's an analysis. Yes, we're giving answers. But if there's a word that's going to wrap everything up, it's an audit. We're auditing these videos. We're auditing the bad behavior or the thought process here that's not really working. And we're going to bring that to light. Because in an audit, you go in, you analyze, you come up with answers, you see the problems, you see the fixes, and then you do a report at the end and you send it in. All right, hey, here's the audit. This is what we found on our audit trail. So then that's when I finally decided, okay, the name of the channel is going to be Incident Audits because we're going to be auditing all this stuff. But the logo still, what about the logo? And then I gave it a little bit more thought on the logo. And then that's when I decided, okay, you know what? I am convinced that the majority of my viewers are blue collar work. And this is for the blue collar worker. So let me dress that gorilla up as a blue collar worker, as a guy who's, he's the type of guy where the rubber meets the road. He's not this fancy trench coat guy. No, he's got some jeans on. He's got a white t-shirt. He's got a clipboard. I mean, that could be a construction worker. That could be a warehouse manager. That could be somebody inspecting plumbing, somebody inspecting house. It doesn't matter. He's going there to take care of business, just like this channel's going to take care of business. And that's when I decided, okay, that's my logo, and that's where I came up with the gorilla who's dressed up the way he is. Now you know why he's dressed up the way he is. And let's get to business. Let's audit this stuff. So there you have a quick history of how the channel design came to fruition. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Why don't we eliminate marriage laws and just have civil unions for everyone? Okay, now that is a question I'm going to say sounds great in theory, impossible in real life, at least here in the US. I mean, I'm pretty sure what I'm about to say is going to be kind of an unexpected, but it's probably applicable throughout the West. Okay, here's the thing. See, marriage laws are a law for a reason. And it's not because specifically for your wife to enforce it on you or you to enforce it on your wife, but it's for the government to enforce. If you're married, now you are in the tax code. You're in a specific tax code, and now we have a paper trail. And it's far easier to keep track of relationships once they've been documented and registered. Yeah, we can argue, well, we could do civil unions kind of the same. It's like reinventing the wheel for the government. The government's going to say, You know what? I already have this marriage laws. We have this covered in marriage laws. We change up the tax code. We have these two people plus their kids. We can track everything. We know where they live. We know where they work. We know how to tax them, how to keep track of everything. It is a tool that the government uses in order to track you through your relationship. Civil unions, you're giving too much freedom back to the individual. That's not good for your tax revenue. Tax revenue is the fuel, the axle grease of government. They're going to want their cut. Not just that. Think about this. Think about it. The government puts up the this law, marriage laws, right? And they say, "Oh, it's not mandatory. Let's let anyone who is willing to come in here and register their relationship with us, and we're gonna put a stamp on it, bam, and we're gonna give them a tax code now. We're gonna have tax laws that are gonna cover them now. It's a win-win for them because you weren't obligated to get married. The government at no point knocked on your door and said, you must get married. No, this was completely voluntary on your part. And you entered our system and you allowed us to apply these different tax laws to you. Yes, I'm going to give you a little bit of a tax credit at the end of the year. I'm going to tax you at a lower rate, but you're still in my system now. On top of that, now, if you decide to get divorced, and you have to pay alimony to your ex-spouse, guess what? You have to report that. That has to be reported in your federal taxes. So again, another plus for the federal government. Okay, business as usual. Now I'm tracking alimony payments. I know who's getting what. I know who I'm gonna tax with what. We're gonna double dip on this one. So again, it's business. It's a machine that's functioning. It's been functioning for a long time in this country. I don't know the laws of other Western countries, but it would be logical to assume that they have something similar. The marriage laws are all for tracking you and being able to have a more precise tax record. Civil unions, yes, they sound great in theory. They were great at one point, but guess what? The government figured out I can tax marriage a lot better, a lot easier, a lot quicker. And the civil unions, I have to hunt them down. Marriages, no, they're coming to me. It's a great hustle. It's a great hustle. And the government also knows that the younger you are, the more likely you are to fall for this hustle. And I know I fell for it, and many men have fallen for it. Although that's changing now, marriage rates are at their lowest they have been since they started tracking in this country. Probably the rest of the West, but still, marriage laws they're not going to go away. The best you could hope for is that they're going to change up. All right, so let me go to the next question. Why can't you date anyone even with red flags? All right, thank you for the subscriber who posted that question. Okay, I'm not telling you not to date anyone. You can date anyone you want. There's a difference between saying, hey, you may want to pay attention here and check out, do not ignore these red flags, than telling you don't date, period. Oh, we're not saying that. I don't think anyone in our niche has ever told anyone you're forbidden from dating a woman who has these red flags. Well, we don't say that. We say, hey, don't do it, as in we're recommending you not to go there because those red flags, I mean, you shouldn't ignore it. For example, like, let's say you're dating this baby mama who's got 3 kids from three different baby daddies, and you decide to go in raw. We're not going to tell you you're forbidden to do that because it's a red flag. We're going to tell you, hey, you shouldn't do that. You should really evaluate that. I mean, we're telling you, hey, don't ignore the red flags. You don't want to be baby daddy number 4. She's putting the illusion, her best foot forward. She's putting up the window dressing. I mean, some of these single moms can be in the gym, working out, get herself back in shape, get herself in her best look, and she probably looks for a guy who's had like an average looking girl. Maybe she's above average looking girl. And she's like, check this out. Bam, I got it happening, baby. I'm in shape. Even though I have three kids, I'm in pretty good shape. I look better than the 300-pound girl you were just with. Come over here. Oh, you make $50,000 a year? Okay, that's a good, and she's thinking in her head, it's a good a chunk of child support I can get off of this sucker. And I can still have another kid because I don't want to work. I'm going to live off that child support money. And then she's going to put her best moves on you. You know, she's going to suck you harder than the Hoover 3000, buddy. And you have content creators like myself are going to come out and say, hey, while your eyes are rolling back up into your skull because, oh my God, it's so good you're about to bust. You should let the big head think for a moment. She's got 3 baby daddies. That's a huge red flag right there, buddy. And if she tells you, go ahead, hit it raw, baby, tear me up. Yeah, you're going to tear her up right there. And then the judge is going to take you and bend your financial earnings over and tear that up. Get deep into that for at least 18 years. So again, we're not telling you you can't do it. We're telling you, hey, you want to walk into that minefield? You go ahead. We're not going to stop you. We're just letting you know that's a minefield. You got to be careful. All it takes is one. You step on one mine. It's going to do a lot of damage. And it's going to take a lot of time to recover from that. So that's on you. I'm never going to be here and say you are forbidden from doing this with a woman. No, you're not. I mean, as long as it's legal, as long as everything's legal. I'm just saying, hey, red flags, don't ignore it. There were a couple of the questions written down by a subscriber. They were very interesting, very unique. And I have a special guest here who's coming in from different parts of the galaxy, taking a break from his bounty hunting to answer these questions for you. All right, without further ado, let's give it up to Locke the Bounty Hunter. Take it away, Locke.
Hello there once again, it's your old pal Locke the Bounty Hunter, taking a break from apprehending space fugitives from intergalactic justice to answer some insolent answers for all of you fine gentlemen and gents out there. And we got ourselves some pretty good questions right here. If you are completely legally protected and your assets are untouchable, should you date anyone even if they show red flags? It's a pretty interesting question, and the answer isn't all that simple. Now, in short, if you want to date, go nuts. You do you. If you don't want to, then don't. You do you. Now, for the record, I will never encourage anyone to completely stay away from women. That's not how we're hardwired. Regardless of how you choose to live your life in that regard, you need to proceed with caution. That goes without saying, but even more so in the digital era of the 21st century, things are way more FUBAR than they used to be. Just take a look at all of the stuff that we cover. There are millions of women out there who are encouraging mean and irresponsible behavior. They encourage lying and cheating and all of this other stuff. And when you meet a woman and you are legitimately considering pursuing a romantic interest in this person, you can't just throw caution to the wind. You have to be extremely careful, which means invoking your inner Philip Marlowe and doing a bunch of gumshoe work. Now, instead of freaking wearing an awesome trench coat and hat and punching out dope dealers, we now have to go on to freaking social media sites, track them down on everything, their Facebook, their Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, what have you. We need to find out if this woman is the legit real deal or not. We need to find out if she's lying about her political preferences, if she's lying about her body count, if she's legitimately kind, or if she treats other people like dirt online. It sucks, but that's what you have to do, because you cannot base a relationship on a foundation of lies. If you do that, you are just asking for a world of hurt. It's too important, because when you enter into a romantic relationship with another woman and she is not on the level, you have way more to lose than just money. When a woman breaks a man's trust or his heart or anything like that, that is a freaking bullet. But at the same time, no man should be an island. We're not built that way. Most of us do crave a romantic bond with another person. It's what makes us human. However, we cannot throw caution to the wind and ignore these red flags, because they're red flags for a reason. So if you're going to go there, just be extremely careful, because at the end of the day, you put a lot of time and effort and work into becoming the man that you are now, and having that be destroyed by a woman who's just going to lie to your face is not worth it. It sucks, but that's the world we live in. What are the possible negatives when you can leave a situationship at any time without financial costs involved? Oh man, I am of a distinct mind when it comes to the concept of the situationship, and I could talk about this stuff for hours on end, but the short opinion that I have on the subject is situationships are a terrible idea. Now, I'm sure there's plenty of folks out there who will disagree with me, and I'm a firm believer that disagreement is a good thing. Nobody is right or wrong when it comes to this subject. My opinion is when you have two people engaging in regular physical relations, inevitably one person is going to end up catching the feels, and the other person simply will not. If they actually did feel the same way for each other, it wouldn't have been a situationship. It would just be a full-fledged relationship, and they'd be moving on to the next chapter. And here is the problem. When you have one person making a larger emotional investment than the other, it never ends well. Now, let's say for the sake of argument that you are the one that has the strong emotions in this situationship, and you break things off just for your own sake. It is going to be a massive gut punch. You are going to be putting yourself through a lot of pain just to get over this person that you thought you could trust, that you thought you could care about, only to find out they didn't feel the same way. So now you have to go back to square one and rebuild yourself up. Then that is a huge load to carry for a while. However, on the opposite side, if she feels more than you do and you leave things because she's too clingy, What's to stop her from going werewolf? Carrie Underwood has glorified the destruction of personal property as a mature response to a woman who's been slighted. So if you go that route, there is the distinct possibility that you could find your tires slashed. You could find bleach on your clothes. She may have spammed your employer to get you fired. Or she may have called the police to file a false accusation against you. The list goes on and on and on. But I get it. At the end of the day, we're all human, and humans make questionable decisions if it means having physical contact with another human being. I totally get it. And I personally think they're just not worth it. But again, that is just one man's opinion, and to quote the great Paul Harrell, my opinion does not come from a place of greatness.
All right, that was Locke the Bounty Hunter. Please go over to his channel and give him some support. He's got great content. If you don't know how to find his channel, no problem. I got you. Go to the description of this video. I'll have the link to his channel there. Let's continue on with the next question I'm going to answer. What ruins most marriages for both men and women? All right, that's kind of a two-parter in one. And I've covered a lot of the reasons why for men on this channel. I'm going to sum them up very, very quickly. The first thing for a man that's very important to him is unfaithfulness, especially if they have children, because it puts a doubt in a man's mind if the kids are his or not. That's probably a man's worst fear, that he's been raising a child that he loves and he finds out that it was all a lie. It wasn't his kid. But there are other reasons as well. Financial reasons is another one, where he's married to a woman who just spends all their savings and just has no clue how to save money, or she's always argumentative, always fighting, or she denies him bedroom fun because she's not in the mood. She's going through this phase like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. But ladies, whatever you're not willing to do inside the marriage, your man sooner or later is going to go out of the marriage to get it. Or the house is always a mess. I mean, there's a number of reasons. Now, most men here kind of know it already. Maybe the younger ones haven't experienced marriage, so they don't know it. I touched on this in an earlier question as to women stop doing the things that they used to do. So let me go on and cross over to what ruins marriage for women. All right, so women are very, very different than men. Men are logical based. They go completely on, hey, I like systems set up. I like routines to be set up. I run a tight ship, or as tight as I can run it, and I want things to keep this ship going. Women are not that way. They're built very different, but most men already know this or have learned this a lot sooner than women have learned it. And women are emotional based. It's all about how I feel. And what ruins marriage for women, the one thing I would say, the number one thing is women believe that their emotions have changed far too much, so they no longer feel the same way they do about their husbands. And it doesn't matter if he's a good provider and if he's doing everything he's supposed to do, because in his eyes, he is. He's going to work. He's paying the bills. In her eyes, oh, the emotions aren't there anymore. And the busier he is, the less time he has for her. So now she feels ignored. And gentlemen, please understand, don't apply your logic here. Your logic does not apply. We're talking about what ruins it for women, and for them, it's their feeling. So when they feel ignored, they feel that you don't care about them anymore. So then that's when they're going to start the fights, because they want more attention from you. And they believe that starting a fight is the smart way to get more attention from you. I know you gentlemen are going to think that is dumb. It doesn't matter. They're going to start fights because as long as you're fighting with her, she has your attention. And then she's going to start doing other things, sabotaging things around the house, because she knows you're going to bring it to her attention. You're like, what the hell are you doing? And she's thinking, oh, great, I have more of his attention. And in her mind, this is working. This is great. And then it's just going to go in a downward spiral. Now, women are going to try to talk to you at first about this. They do. But a lot of times when they talk to you, they're only coming from their point of view. You understand? They don't see it from your point of view. So when they come to you, they're like, oh my God, I'm going to explain to him that he's ignoring me and I don't like this and it's making me feel horrible and my feelings are changing for him. You can come back, you can say, I'm working at overtime. We have bills to pay. The kids need food. I need to pay these bills. The emotions aren't going to do that. Now, you're coming from a logical standpoint, but she's thinking, oh, see, I tried to express to you how I'm feeling ignored, and for you, it's just a reason to fight, to argue. See, you don't love me the way you used to. And that's because they're seeing it from two different things. So what ruins marriage for women, the first thing is feelings, and it's everything from there on out. Now, there are other factors out there that also ruin, that are less common, but they are common enough to mention. Like, for example, their husband stepped out on them, has been cheating on them with the neighbor, this and that. That's going to affect them. Or he actually is going out and having a good time with his friends and not spending enough time with his wife. Or they don't go on vacations anymore and she feels like, oh my God, I'm not special enough for you to be to take anywhere. Or anything else that takes her out of being the center of your world. That affects women. That's the number one thing. Those things affect women. Those are the biggest factors. Now, the other big factor that's mentioned a lot, the most common reason that's mentioned is financial. And financial does play into this. Financial does play into this because some men just can't afford to maintain a certain lifestyle, or maybe the bills crept up on them, on both of them, or maybe they were both working and one of them is no longer working and is unemployed for a while, and that puts everybody into a financial crunch. Financials are a big deal, but that's more of the reason that's reported by women mostly as to why they broke up. But in reality, it starts in feelings and then it goes over to finances. So I believe I answered that question properly. Let's go on to the next question. What is the best revenge against a cheating husband slash wife and their lover? Okay, number one, I'm gonna say the best revenge is try to get revenge. I'm sorry, I don't believe in revenge. I mean, listen, no, no, no. Let it go. Let it go. I mean, I'm not saying ignore the problem. Obviously, confront the problem. Confront the person who's being unfaithful. But to try to hurt them and their lover, don't do that. I understand this question came from a point of view of a person that is hurt, and they want their significant other to feel their pain. I got that. Understand it completely and totally. But I'm going to say right now, do not try to hurt another person. It's a rabbit hole. You're going to go into that rabbit hole and you don't know how deep that goes. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's hard to take the high road at the time, but it really is the better option. And it's easy to say when you're not the one who is hurting, you're not the one who's in pain. But I can tell you, there are a lot of times that you want to strike out and cause someone else the pain that they've caused you. But my experience has taught me don't do that because your actions have consequences. Now, we can say that, well, they hurt me, so the consequence of that is me hurting them. Yes, we can argue that, but in you hurting them, there'll be consequences to that too. And I know you're thinking, like, what kind of consequences? Well, you may do something that's going to get you in legal problems. Maybe it's not legal, but you're going to do something that's going to emotionally hurt your husband or your wife, and inadvertently, you'd hurt your children too. The family will get hurt. For example, let's say you're a housewife and your husband is making like $250,000 a year and you find out he has a mistress, but you're living in this 7 bedroom, 4 bathroom mansion. You have a bunch of cars. He does everything for you. You're living a lavish lifestyle. And if you divorce him, it is possible that all this can go away or your lifestyle is going to downgrade to a certain point. You're going to say, screw it, I want to hurt him, so he has to pay it. Yes, but guess who else you're going to hurt? Maybe you have 3 kids and they're still quite young. You're going to hurt them too. You're going to drag them down into the circus of family court. They're going to be hurting. And I'm not saying, okay, well, you know what? It's okay what he's doing. I'm not saying that. Confront him about it. Get counseling if you need, but don't decide, okay, I'm going to lash out and hurt him and destroy everything. Because that's scorched earth, and you could destroy your own assets, your own family in doing so. And I recommend you don't do that. So don't look for revenge. Find other ways around it. Because in hurting your wife, your husband, remember, it is a legal binding contract. So you're hurting the other half of your business. Some of that, or most of that, is going to also hurt you. Now, you could be in an emotional state where you don't care, but trust me, once your emotions change and logic sets in, you're going to be like, oh, snap, what have I done? That wasn't smart. Okay, I think I've answered that question. Let's go on to the final question of the day. Why do men prefer to date broke girls over boss babes? Oh, that's pretty simple because, boss babes, to begin with, have an attitude. They're quite masculine. In order for a boss babe to become a boss babe, she has got to have several key things that men usually have. I mean, aggressiveness, ambition, and drive. These things are traits that men have, and women find that attractive. Men, we don't find that very attractive at all. We like softness, submissiveness. A broke girl isn't guaranteed to have those traits, but there's a higher percentage that she will have those traits. That's number one. Number two, boss babes usually, they make their own money. They go on these extravagant vacations. And they think that, oh, well, if I show off all these vacation places I've been to, this is going to attract the man. He's going to like that I went to these places. That's the exact opposite, actually. Because a man will think immediately, oh, you've been on all these trips? Okay, what other man paid for these? How many guys have you been with to go into all these trips? And although it may not be true, the point is men are going to automatically think that. Where a broke girl rarely is going to go on trips. And if you take her on one trip, she's going to be extremely grateful. For example, the boss babe was so used to having these high-end luxury trips. I mean, she wants you to take her to New York and rent out a penthouse or fly over to Paris or something like that. And if you do anything smaller than that, she's not going to be as grateful. Where a broke girl, you could just say, hey, listen, like, let's say you're in Atlanta and you tell a broke girl, hey, you know what? I'm going to head up to a weekend trip. I rented out this cabin up in Helen, Georgia, up in the mountains in the Bavarian theme town in Helen, Georgia. It's got this cute German vibe to it. Bunch of things to do. We can go zip lining and we're going to go hiking in the mountains. It's going to be great. And we can do some wine tasting and drink all the different beers that are up there. A broke girl is going to think, oh my God, that sounds amazing. And you're going to take me? And you're like, yeah. And It's only a 2.5 hour drive. I mean, you don't even have to rent a car. You can just drive your own car and take her up there. That vacation to a broke girl is going to be very impressive, and she's going to feel very grateful for you to have taken your time and your money to take her up there. A boss babe would have been like, well, okay, I guess. The point is, it's much easier to talk to and impress and have a better time with a broke girl that works at a fast food joint or a cashier somewhere, or who's a waitress. It's much easier to work with them and take them out, and they're much more grateful when you do. Boss babes, I mean, they set their bar really high because they get paid for it, and then they believe that they deserve men to pay for that or something bigger. They don't bother to learn what a man likes. Why should they? In their minds, they're at the same SMV level as a man, when we all know, listen, no. I mean, an average looking boss babe and an average looking cashier for a man, like, there's not much of a difference there. We go off looks, personality, and everything. Women in their heads are like, oh, I'm a director of marketing. I'm well above her level. You should be dating me. I'm the prize here. And you're like, well, I don't care about your job. I don't care about your money. I don't care about your experiences. I care about somebody who's soft, submissive. And this is the reason why men prefer broke girls. They tend to be softer, more submissive. Well, all right, that wraps it up for this part of Insolent Answers. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe, like, and share this video on other social media platforms. Thank you all for joining us. I also would like to thank Locke the Bounty Hunter again for participating in this episode and giving his answers. They really gave a different, insightful view to help out everyone out who needed to get that advice. This is Insolent Answers, signing out.